This finally arrived today, this package. Now, it was sent from St. Louis in the United States in February. It went to Germany, okay? It then went to Canada, then to Barnsley in the UK, and then finally it found its way to me after we'd basically thought it was lost. And what it is, I hope, well, I know from what I read on the customs declaration, but apart from a very well-travelled package, an anti-gravity iPhone case, which I am going to do a review of next week for you. In yesterday's vlog, I promised to tell you the story of what happened 2 years ago. And let me just set this up here. There we go. 2 years ago today didn't start off as a good day for me. I was late out of bed, had to rush my son to nursery, I missed my train. I just was having one of those bad days, you know, when you get up late and everything just seems to kind of get ahead of you. I had a really important lunch meeting with a new colleague of mine, and you guys are off at the side here. Let's get you guys straight. So I was having my first meeting with a colleague of mine who worked in another building very close to where I do my work. And, you know, we kind of meet up for lunch, and he decided to have the fish. Now, I wanted the fish, but I thought, you know, can't have the fish if he's chosen the fish, and I was hosting, so I decided to have the chicken instead. Now, a bit of context. In the weeks leading up to this, I'd broken one of my back teeth here, one of my molars, had a filling in it, the filling had broken. The dentist had told me I needed a root canal. We have a wonderful NHS in this country, but I was told I was best going private, and it was £500. So I was just like, okay, maybe can't quite afford that straight off the bat right now at that time. And so I was kind of holding off, working out options, and it kind of wasn't killing me, well, and so I decided, anyway, the reason for that was I could only chew on one side. So we're having this meeting, we sat down, I'm eating this chicken and salad, and it's a chicken on the bone, like a Nando's type chicken thing, eating away at it, and we're talking, and then suddenly something gets stuck in my throat, and I'm sat, and I'm going, and you know when you sometimes have that choking sensation, you immediately start looking for a napkin, but then you're thinking, I'm in this social situation where we're trying to impress each other, I don't really know this guy, I need to kind of subtly get rid of whatever's choking on my throat, and it was a little embarrassing. So first of all, I'm kind of thinking, this is very embarrassing, looking over, trying to look normal, while realising that actually I'm choking. Then I realise, actually, I can't shift this. I start banging my chest, trying to sort of release it as you do, and nothing's happening. So I stand up. At that point, Alistair, the guy I'm having lunch with, realises I'm in trouble. So he tries whacking me on the back a couple of times. Nothing's happening. And I can't quite work out the timeline here exactly, but I guess it was about a minute and a half in total, maybe a little bit longer, because I certainly was going. He then shouts for help. I remember distinctly turning around, and this, people talk about this, I just had this calmness in the midst of the panic. The calmness was very, very sad. I thought of my wife and children, and I honestly thought at that moment I was going down because they couldn't move it. And I just thought, what a way to go, having a horrible morning and eating my lunch. At that moment, a very generous member of the public came over and did the Heimlich maneuver, where he sort of gestured to do the Heimlich, and I just remember lifting my arms and going, go for it. I couldn't say anything. I wasn't even making a choking sound. It was so well lodged in me, I couldn't make a sound at all. I was just trying to cough the thing up. And he had 2 or 3 goes at it, maybe more than that. I remember just actually getting to a stage where I relaxed, which probably the relaxing helped shift it, and out popped the chicken bone that I was choking on. I then sat down, carried on my meeting. Everyone else came over. Somebody had phoned an ambulance, but they cancelled it. And quite a few. It was in the cafe where my office is, and a few people came over and said, "Dan, you look terrible. You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was a bit shaken up, a bit sweaty. Apparently, I was as grey as anything. I carried on our meeting. He went. I apologised to him for that. I went back up to my office and thought, I cannot remember anything that we spoke about, and I was then told that the boss had cancelled all my meetings and told me to go home. And it was going home on the train was very, very difficult, because I think the enormity of what had happened to me really hit home. I'm telling you this story because what I said in my little personal journal that day was, I must go on a first aid course. Because if that gentleman, who I've never met since, didn't know his name, he kind of just wandered off afterwards. If he hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here to talk to you on this vlog. My children wouldn't have a father anymore, and yeah, that would have been it. And you never know when you're going to be needed to give first aid, and you'll never, I was lucky it was busy, and apparently there was somebody else who was there as well, but that could have been it. And only for the fact that a stranger knew his first aid did I survive. And there's lots of other stories of people like that. And apparently I helped my cousin. It wasn't the Heimlich, but I managed to pat her on the back when we were in Florida. I'd totally forgotten about it. Maybe this guy's totally forgotten about how he saved my life that day. And, that's great if he did, but I've not forgotten. And, get on I'll put a link below if you're in England to a St. John's ambulance course or something like that. Just make sure you have some basic first aid training, because you never know when you're going to need to be able to step in and save someone's life. And I'm eternally grateful to that guy for doing that. It was, afterwards, it was not pleasant. I'd actually cracked 2 of my ribs, which was fine. I'm glad he saved my life. I was in quite a bit of pain for a few days afterwards, and I basically very quickly got the root canal done on my other tooth. I still have a fear if I've got something chewy in my mouth, so I don't like anything that's too chewy now, because if anything gets lodged there, I do have a reaction to it, and I am fearful of that choking sensation, more so than I ever was before. But I hope that's not too morbid, and the positive story at the end of it is that you get out there and you get some first aid. If you are choking, one thing I read up on afterwards to try and work out what had gone on, is the worst thing you could do, which was what I was attempting to do at one point, which was get to the toilets, because it is socially embarrassing. But so many people have what they call café coronaries, where basically they go to the toilet because they're choking and die because there's nobody else there. So if you are choking, make a scene. Make sure people know that it's happening, because you need help, and you need to do that. And it's kind of one of those situations in life when you realize you are totally helpless. You can't do anything. I know there are a few things that sort of show you how to help, but I think mine was so well lodged, I needed a stranger to help me out. Not long after that, I had kind of a sort of really rotten week after that. My saxophone teacher, Ray Wilkes, passed away about 2 or 3 days later, and then I was stood on the platform on the tube station, and someone jumped in front of a tube train in front of me. It was a pretty tough 10 days when all that happened, and I'm glad I have a family I can talk to about those kind of things, and almost therapy online now, talking about these things. So if these things do happen, you do get those, talk to someone about it, make a vlog about it like I'm doing. And most of all, though, I've got to say, get first aid, for goodness sake. And second, first of all, if you are choking, make a scene, get some help, make whatever you have to do to get help. But 2, you might be the person who needs to give that help, so make sure you've got the training. So please do, if you can, get on a first aid course. Thank you very much for watching. Saxophone vlogs definitely coming up next week. Don't think there's going to be any vlogs over the weekend. We've got some friends coming to stay. I might do, we'll see what happens. But I'm going to leave it there for today. If you don't already subscribe, you know the drill. Please hit the subscribe button. You know if you do subscribe how much I love you. And I will see you very, very soon.